I gotta go to the dentist today. Ugh. I got this board of my goals for the month and the week. For the month of January, 10K and videos every weekday. That's the goals for the month. And then for the week, finish Hook Point and Seven Figure Agency. Those are books, so finish those 2 books. Send 15 emails per account, which I just started today, which is cool. Test new spray service in cold. So this is asking people if they want more spray service clients instead of bed bug treatments. Another goal is to get 1 client by the end of the week, but that's more of like an outcome, and like I can't really control that. So I just put things that I can control. Like I can set things up. I can finish a book, but I can't really like make someone buy something, you know. But we're gonna come back to this board after I get back from the dentist. Alright, we're back. Just kidding, we're not actually back. I just walked out of the room and walked back in. But I'm gonna pretend like we're back. Back to the board. We're gonna talk about human pain and suffering. Okay, so this is basically, I'm gonna demonstrate, this is kind of something I've come up with in my head. But an illustration of like why people do like great things, or like what it takes to like actually do something great or big. So if you ever noticed anyone that did anything great, they'd have to go through like this process of working harder than anybody else to get to that goal, right? To get to the thing that they wanted. If we look at most people, it's just a struggle of bobbing up and down this line, right? Like let's just say this is like the sea, right? Let's just say this is like water, and you're just trying to keep your head above water. So people like live here, and you know, they live and they die not doing anything special, and then you know, that's the end of their life, and they kind of regret not doing anything with their life because they just live their head above water, living for today and not focusing on tomorrow, and like living for you know, doing something for their future self. So that's how most people's lives go. But anyone, like I said, that has done anything special or unique or great has done something a little differently. So the people that have done, you know, that have achieved great things, they want to be up here. They don't want to like go over here for the rest of their life. They want to like go somewhere great, and they recognize that and they understand that, and they know it's not going to be easy to get there. So most people live life, you know, struggling, keeping their head above water, and like basically having to sacrifice their whole life just to, you know, keep their head above water, right? And it kind of sucks, right? That living a life like that sucks, and then it just ends. That kind of sucks, right? So how do we get to here? How do we go from here to here? It's not gonna be like, we can't just go straight from there to there. What has to happen is we have to put in more sacrifice and more suffering. So if you think of an example of like people living paycheck to paycheck, they kind of, most people think they live paycheck to paycheck, or like 50% of people think they live paycheck to paycheck. And what happens is like basically they get money, it goes up a little bit, like their bank account goes up a little bit, and then they spend the money and it goes back down, right? So they get money and it goes back down, right? Up and down, up and down. And so like they spend the money that they have living for today, like going out to eat. Same with their health, right? Like eating junk food, never getting somewhere extraordinary, always being like below ordinary is, you know, how people feel. So they're just living just above that line. Like I'm comfortable where I am. This is comfortable because, you know, I get to have the short-term gratification of like eating out every once in a while. Like I have a few dollars in my bank account, and I get that short-term gratification of, you know, living for today. And so then they live their life like that. But people that want to get somewhere extraordinary know that it's going to have to take some sacrifice. So basically you're sacrificing your whole life, not getting anywhere, but you're comfortable with that. You're okay with that. You're okay with not, you know, people want to lose weight, but they're okay. It doesn't really hurt to be the certain weight that they are right now, it doesn't hurt enough to actually do something about it. So that they, they just live their life like this. But the people that actually do something about it, where like, let's say this is being overweight and this is the goal, which is being fit. If you want to get to that goal, you can't just keep doing the same thing of like, living above water and just being okay with where you are right now and just living day after day, not doing anything about it. The people that actually get here go through a process of sacrificing even more. So they have to go under, right? They have to sacrifice even more so that they can get to this desired outcome, if that makes sense. So like, let's just say you want to save money and you don't want to live paycheck to paycheck anymore. Living as you are is probably a sacrifice. Living to paycheck and not making a lot, having enough to cover the bills, and maybe buy something fun every once in a while. That's cool. But if you actually want to get there, you're not going to skip past this part. You're not going to skip past the sacrifice that it takes to get there. So right now you're already kind of sacrificing living how you are. You can't, go on a trip whenever you want. How do you get to a place where you can go on a trip whenever you want and you get to buy the fancy things that you want to buy? But this is just an example. The same thing for weight loss. How do I get to a point where I feel healthy and I look good? You're not going to do that living where you are and being satisfied or okay, content with how things are right now. You have to put in more sacrifice. For an example, Michael Jordan, I think 1995, I was watching the Last Dance. In 1995, they lost the NBA championship. That's when he came back from retirement, right? He won 3 championships, retired, went to baseball, and then came back. And then that year that he came back, they lost. He's his personal trainer said, hey, just whenever you want to start, working out again and getting back in shape, just let me know. Usually, most basketball players, they take a break for a couple months over the summer, and then they, get back on the routine to start the new season the next year. But Michael Jordan was well, I don't want to lose again. I want to get to that desired outcome. So I have to sacrifice even more, so he said, I'm going to start tomorrow. Let's meet up tomorrow and start this thing tomorrow. And so he had to sacrifice even more, work even harder than anybody else. And that's what made him the best, right? So everybody else in the NBA, obviously it's hard work being in the NBA, or being any athlete, it's hard physical labor every day, but they're all living like this, not being anything different from everybody else. Most people in the NFL, their careers last 3 years. So this is just being like everybody else. But in order to get there, where you're the superstar, where you're the actually winning team, you have to sacrifice even more than everybody else. So you have to go under. Another example, Jeff Bezos. This is why I said holding your going underwater or holding your breath. So Jeff Bezos, he obviously owner of Amazon. They do things to where they try to beat everybody else out and basically suffer through more pain to beat out the other person. So hold their breath for even longer to survive. That's how they survive. So an example of this, they were competing with diapers.com, a new website that came out, and it was selling diapers, taking away from Amazon's market share. So what Amazon did was hey, we're going to decrease the price of diapers so that we're losing money. So Amazon was losing money on these diapers just so that the customers come to Amazon and not to diapers.com. So the prices are cheaper on Amazon.com. And they were willing to lose $100 million, I think, on this deal. And so basically they undercut diapers.com like 6 to 9 months or something like that. And then diapers.com went out of business because they couldn't hold their breath for as long as Jeff Bezos could or Amazon could. So they had to sacrifice all that money just to get those customers, just so that they could be on top again, and on top of diapers.com. And then diapers.com, I think, went bankrupt after that. So if you want to go somewhere great, you're not just going to, have this exponential curve up, or it's not like this linear curve of okay, I'm going to get to this desired outcome, I'm going to be fit. It's going to take some sacrifice. It's not just going to be roses and happy the whole time. It's going to be a lot of pain, a lot of sacrifice in order to get to that desired result. It's building muscle at the gym. One, it doesn't happen overnight, and 2, it takes a lot of pain, a lot of breaking down the muscles in order to build them up and actually be, muscular. As I know, look at these guns, because I know what I'm talking about. So that's the life lesson for today. The reason I'm showing you this is because I have to do whatever it takes in order to get to this desired outcome. I can't just keep living like I normally live and working like I normally work. I have to go above and beyond in order to get like this desired outcome. I have to suffer harder or longer hours, you know, sacrifice more things in order to get to a desired outcome. And like we can go on all day with all these examples, like Jesus, right? You know, suffering the cross to get a desired outcome of like salvation for the whole world. You know, anyone that's like really great at their craft, they just focus on that one craft so much, and then they just eliminate everything else and do that one thing really well. And like they sacrifice everything else. So another example, Damien Chazelle, one of my favorite like directors, he doesn't have social media. Neither does like Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan directed Tenet, his most recent movie, Tenet, Dunkirk, the Batman, The Dark Knight. I think he doesn't even have a cell phone. Well, he has like a flip phone. I don't even think he has a flip phone. You know, he dedicates all his like energy towards having the desired outcome, making great movies. Same with Damien Chazelle. He just creates great movies. He doesn't worry about social media. Doesn't worry about trying to get his name out there and become famous. So he suffers and he sacrifices so that he can get this desired outcome. Look, just think of anyone that does anything great. Serena Williams, any NFL player that's a superstar. You know, they're a superstar for a reason because they put in more work than everybody else, and they're better than everybody else because they're willing to sacrifice more. So if you want to do anything great, be willing to sacrifice. And so I have to sacrifice more and put in more effort, put in more time in order to get to the desired outcome of $1 million in 1 year. I have to be smarter than everybody else. I have to learn more than everybody else. I have to work harder than everybody else. You know, all that stuff. I have to combine all that stuff and put it together.
Oh, yeah. This is the face of depression.
Tila and Hannah, loyal fans.
K-I-S? No, that's illegal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, the one where cops come here.
Why are you holding a 13-year-old girl hostage in your basement that you don't even have?
You don't even have a basement.
You don't
Right,
have a
she's in the attic.
She was in the trunk.
Obviously.
It was kind of really funny because they were looking for her and they just weren't gonna find her.
Were they trying to get into your house?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, I was what was I doing? I was upstairs, just minding my own business.
He was just praying, you know, seeking the Lord.
I knock on the door, look out the window, and it's like there's a police car. I'm like, that's not for me, but I come down anyways. Excuse me, is this Unit 3? And I'm like, yeah. I'm going through my mind, what are the illegal things that I've done recently? And they're like, so we got a call that there's a 13-year-old girl living here with you. And I was like, nah. I was like, I got a wife and she's 19, but I don't have any 13-year-old girls. She was like, this is Unit 3, right?
That is correct, sir.
It is. And they just looked at me for a second like, all right. You'll have to wait and knock on the next door.
What?
So they had the right unit, but it wasn't me as far as they know.
So someone else called about your either wife.
Could have been. It could have.
Okay.
They just thought that she was a 13-year-old girl.
Here's
Which,
what I think
if
happened.
you really look
One
at
time.
her in a certain light at night, I'm saving myself actually.
In a certain light.
I think it was my fault because one time I wore my hair out like this.
Oh.
And I think someone might have called, like, why is that 13-year-old girl carrying
Look
that
at big
big
burly
black
black
man?
man. Why do we see her come and go? She always comes back looking so sad.
Where have you been all day, honey?
Oh man. All right.
Preschool.
Preschool. 13-year-old preschool. That's a shame.
She's not gonna break. I trained her well.
I trained her in the car. She's not gonna
Get whatever you want out of her.
This is getting progressively
Okay, honey, just one more shit.
progressive.
Night forever.
Forever.
Yeah, so I've got another suitcase so the suitcase that I have that I brought, you know,